Θα ήταν καλό πριν κλείσουμε. Καταρχήν τα θέματα έχουν ανοίξει πάρα πολύ και...
We have too many topics. And if you let us here, we could continue talking forever. Yes, perhaps you should organize a conference only for us, only for our panel. I was asked how the conference, what I thought about the conference. I answered that we cannot expect miracles. 25 different countries participate in the conference. What is important is that we talk with each other and that each one of us takes courage from each other. And we also draw ideas from each other. And we learn about the other parishes, about what happens in the other parishes. So our horizons have broadened. And I would also like to make an appeal to the church, to all of us in the church. The ecclesiastical sides of this nature should be used. We shouldn't be used by them in the good sense. Second appeal. And I cannot further elaborate on that. Do you expect a question? I don't accuse you. Those that build blogs or sites with the signature of the entity we serve, of the church, a specific church, this is a newspaper of our church, of our own church. We cannot put anything inside that site. Many times we get to know something, and we must go to the main entity, the competent entity, because if some fathers are too enthusiastic, we build a site and we put anything inside, but we shouldn't do that. So we will have a round of 1 minute each. So you are all journalists and you know the titles of your speeches. So can you please give a subtitle before closing? We will start with the newspaper Orthodoxia, which is also offered for subscribers. Since you refer to proposals for the internet, I will speak about the question put by Ms. Olga. We could create a pan-Orthodox ecclesiastical information poll where those that will be called upon to serve will have one unique orientation at the personal and broader level. The sacredness of life. The sanctity can only be brought forward as an ecclesiastical piece of news, because what we call secular pieces of news hide the gospel, messages from the gospel. The sanctity puts you into communication with God, who allow me to say that as a journalist, the journalistic expression becomes more effective, and God becomes the only source of the journalist.
Crisis brought the people closer to the church. We can see that from the visitability of our pages. 40% of our visitors are between the ages of 25 and 44 years old. This is very important and relevant for the prospects of the sites and pastoral care. We need to take advantage of this and make the best use of it. This is a very important part, and I think that this is also serving Orthodox pastoral care, and we hope that this conference will become the trigger for better prospects of our church. A small comment to Mrs. Julia. The machines that you have and the systems that you are talking about, well, you have them thanks to the state and the system that backs you up. Mrs. Julia, let me say that you work in the Patriarchate of Moscow all together. There is a whole mechanism set up there. Here we are begging sometimes for 100 euros. In closing, Father George, I would like to say that this conference should be repeated with participants only the ecclesiastical news agencies. I'm not underestimating or downplaying the role of anybody here, and the metropolitans need to continue their work and keep the agencies on board. If I see the metropolitans, those who act on their own, even if they upload something on their sites, very few people are going to read it. But if I see outside His Eminence of Glyfada with His Eminence of Ohrid, Kisamu, I can upload this as a news agency. Okay, you can upload the photograph, but not the content of the present day of their discussion. The only thing I want to raise here is the following. First of all, let me say that we have new challenges ahead of us, and it will take us time before we can digest everything. My question is, shall the Orthodox as a whole find a common ground for their news broadcast and agencies? Could we have a pan-Orthodox alliance created through the internet and web pages? Don't forget, we live in Greece. I would like to say that in reality, not a lot is required for a good infrastructure. We run a private project in Moscow, and I think this is very feasible in Greece. The main thing is not to lose contact, not to lose touch with reality. All those who are in the daily press, they need to know to what extent this reaches our public. We must not restrict ourselves to our very close circle. We must not antagonize each other either. We need to find the courage and the audacity, if you will, in order to utter what we have, and in order to have our voice heard. One comment on what Olga said is that we don't have the necessary trust among ourselves. There's a great visitability of our sites, so if you have questions, please raise them. Hope you're not too hungry. The microphone to His Eminence, Metropolitan of Glyfada. When there is an article, when there is a report, is it right to have only one side heard? Shouldn't we have both sides heard? Sometimes I have to ring the editor and point this out to him. I say to him, on your site, you wrote something about me, but why didn't you ask me? Why is your reporting one-sided? This is what is happening in the ecclesiastical sites. That is my first comment. Second question, when there is a news broadcast, ecclesiastical news broadcast, is this broadcast what we call ecumenical? Are the comments always exact and true? Two or three more questions to save time, and then we shall answer the questions grouped. Mrs. Adoniadou, I was going to speak today, but unfortunately I could not be here due to prior engagements. I'm going to speak as an ecclesiastical correspondent. One part of my intervention concerns the sites, web pages of parishes, archdioceses, and there is the ecclesiastical news sites, but they're secular. It's like me, I work for the newspaper To Vima, and I shall convey the message as my duty dictates. I hear the piece of news, I cross-check it, and then I broadcast it. A digital medium that belongs to a parish, to an archdiocese or diocese or to the patriarchate has a totally different part to play. It may of course employ journalists, but the journalists working for them have a very focused task. Digital media are not just web pages. Digital media are exploding. We will have digital televisions. The representative of the Moscow Patriarchate does a different job to Dimitrios Rizoulis, Dionysis Makris, or any other colleague. The journalist that does ecclesiastical reporting also needs to respect the International Code of Ethics. It is the same for all. You, Father, as Olga, follow a different code, and the digital media allow you to approach your flock worldwide. That used to be the role of the church bells in the past. When the bells rang, it was the message that somewhere there was a church and you had to go to it. The digital media are for everybody to learn how to use. Do you recall the private television stations in Greece, how they started? Do you remember programs that today could never be broadcast? One of the advantages of the digital media, and I shall give you an example. When bin Laden was arrested and executed, we received the message, the information, thanks to the Twitter of a Pakistani who was just close by, 500 meters away. But then the journalists from all news agencies worldwide publicized the message, the new piece of news, but cross-checked, verified. This is a problem that you will have to solve, you will have to deal with. The journalists of secular media work in a different manner. Dimitri, in the USA, we had a scandal of children's sexual abuse, which was revealed by the press, by the journalists, concerning the Roman Catholic Church. This is why the cardinals could not claim, could not be candidates for papacy. Thank you very much for this. It is true that the conference on this needs to be organized. Father Michael, Diocese of Glyphada, Vulem and Vari, in the ethics of Aristotle, mite pleonάζει, mite lipi. That is not enough of it and not too much of it. We do not want to go into excess. I think that we must go from the Aristotelian mesotis to the patristic mesotis. That is a golden standard and a medium line. The Church does not want to promote itself. Maybe this is a personal need that members of the clergy may have, but we hear that the work of a diocese of the church is not enough promoted. But once I asked Kavamakis about the promotion of the church, promotion of the church's work, and he told me, bless his soul, that the church works silently and doesn't need to broadcast or to publicize everything. Maria Yagnaki, journalist, has a question. I have a few questions. We want to hear things from people that we meet for the first time. I'm not an ecclesiastical reporter or correspondent, but I have done ecclesiastical correspondence worldwide. I would like to address Mrs. Prokofskaya, who surprised me with what she detailed about her country, and I wish similar things could happen in our country. You said that through the synodal communication department that you have in the Moscow Patriarchate, you make sure that you are kept informed on a 24-hour basis about things that are not exactly right and which might negatively affect the image of orthodoxy. And you say that you eradicate this in order to not to actually harm the church. But what do you mean eradicate? Do you just keep silent about it, or you just nip the evil in the bud, if I may say that? Mr. Makris.
Ναι. Ο Σεβασμιότατος έχει απόλυτα δίκιο.
He's absolutely right. The reporting must be checked from all sides, and I will insist that we should be constructive. We shouldn't just present news. As to the ecumenical nature, yes, this is absent in the ecclesiastical information. As far as Ms. Adoniadou is concerned, let me make some remarks about the function and the role of journalists. Dear Maria, we have known each other for years. You have spoken about pederastic behaviors in the US. This is not something new. This scandal exploded, but this situation was organized by 5 different entities. Why did it come out now? Because there was a new law in the US that enabled them to bring to the publicity these pederastic acts on behalf of the Catholic Church. Maria, there was a propaganda with the election of the Pope, with which very few have dealt. And there was also a connection to Rockefeller, who also guides a lot of media in Greece as well. As far as the a cross-examination of news. News are always cross-examined. So as to whether some people are insulted or not, which is the case. Yes, we don't speak personally, but taking this opportunity, I want to say that on the basis of the procedure, let's avoid the details. So the sentence remained unfinished. You are right about when you speak about the ecumenical nature. It is good that we, all of us, and I am a person that struggles in this sense, although I am a Greek. The Church and Orthodoxy is not only Greek. The Church is ecumenical, and our serb brothers also belong to our Church, and our brothers are those that have been baptized. So those baptized Orthodox are our brothers. Let me also address to you and say, okay, what you're saying is right, but it is a bit obsolete. The Church needs to present itself. Should be present. We should have a presence of the Church when there is a benefit for the people. But if you want to present only certain persons, then I agree with you and I accept what you're saying. Let me say a few words. Of course, the news must be checked. Otherwise, no journalism is there. I agree with Maria. there are a lot of persons in the church that believe the opposite. They believe that nothing bad should be written about the church, and if you do that, then they say that you are an opponent of the church. We cannot even criticize. Sometimes we get misunderstood. Yes, we suffer from that as newspapers less than others. This is a great mistake, I think. As far as whether the church should be advertised or not, the church does not need to be advertised as church, but if we have free meals and someone contributes to this effort, want people come to help, I think there we should advertise the event. Thank you very much. And we will close with Miss Olga. Let me answer your question. You asked what we must fight. The negative consequences, the negative news, or the negative piece of news in itself. Have I understood you correctly? So my answer is the following. As a rule, a negative atmosphere is created through a negative situation. So we should fight from both sides. We know that the audience, and very often a secular audience, raises very high expectations vis-à-vis the persons of the church, and a simple event may become a huge scandal. And there are also forces that are interested in this scandal breaking up. So we must have the right reaction to the scandal so that the negative events are avoided. So there is a lot of interest about this topic. Let me share with you a personal fact on this side. With the group that we have created the website, there was a posting one day, and we have started searching for the source. We wanted to see where this posting came from, and when we found the source, then we reached 7 sources, and when we reached the first source, this was the primary site where the information came from, and we wrote that the source was there. So the text was very nice. There are always people liking it. Although this site is not of the metropolis, we have sent a letter. There was a letter, and they thought that the letter was ours, and they started saying that the site is heretical. I have explained that this is not true, and I asked, why is this heretical? Because one posting out of the 2,085 present at the time referred to an apocryptic site. Couldn't someone say, please be careful, what you refer to is an apocryptic site, and then we could refer that to the church? Yes, it's not that everyone is with a pistol, a gun, targeting you. It is in Matthew. I was, again, another time approached by a journalist. You have written about that, yes, and you did right to do that. So there was a journalist came to me and said, Metropolitan, I have known that the Metropolitan will come to your church. Can we come and take photos? I said, no, this is not necessary. We will have a memory photo in the end. No, I would like to take photos. No, you needn't do that, I said. We don't need a photographer. No, then we will advertise that on our site. It will be on Agioritiko Vima. Your parish will be advertised. A lot of faithful people will come to you. And I said, no, there is no reason for that. I said, we have our own site and we will put the photo there. But please, I work from this. This is my job. And I said, I don't want to interfere with your job, but yes, but others, the others will give me €100 for that, but I won't give you any money for that, I said. So without wanting to elaborate further, I had remorses in the end. And in the afternoon, he phoned again. I said, I will give you pocket money from me, but not from the church. He came. He also used the flash, so he destroyed the whole service. I asked him not to give the photos to someone. He didn't have any car, and he wanted us to take him home. So he started asking everyone whether they have a car or not. And then I told him, well, why are you doing this? I said, do they pay you? No, nobody pays me, he said. And I said, but if there are despots, then if the photos are with despots, then they will put them on, they will use them. And I have another event to share with you. His Eminence came to my church. Then there was a photographer sitting next to him, and I asked, do you know him, Your Eminence? And he said, no, I don't know him. So thank God he didn't ask for money.
Just to note to all the journalists present here, two images that you always need to have in mind are the images of Christ when he denounces, and you know how he did it, but he was Christ. And the second image from the end of Genesis, Noah is drunk and his children cover him up. Thank you, Father Gregory. I would like to raise a technical question here. It's addressed to all the panelists. They accuse us of being from one or the other diocese, from one or the other patriarchate. You know, from Web 2. And I don't know what you do in your sites. And how are the news written? And why more pieces of news are broadcast from one and not of the other? All of these questions can be arranged thanks to modern technology without this becoming apparent to the users. These technologies are seamless, so we can do this in order to change the image that we have in the eyes of our public. Thank you.